Were you informed at some point that there was a discrepancy between what you were examining and what had been documented by the medical examiner in terms of the number of bullet fragments?
I was, yes.
Were you asked to see if maybe the ATF had lost certain portions of the evidence?
No, I was not.
Right. Do you think, and was it your understanding that there were originally 7 bullet fragments, but you ended up with 4?
I was alerted that there was potentially 7 fragments from the medical examiner in a photo just a few months ago.
Okay. You're clear, though, that when you got the evidence, it was in a sealed condition, correct?
It was, yes.
And when you opened, what was it, an envelope?
A small individual manila envelope, yes.
And did you take the contents of the envelope containing the bullet and take photographs of it?
I did, yes.
Okay. Could you display page 41 of 47, that is it? And tell us what's depicted here.
Yes, this is a picture of the as-received condition of Exhibit 6 in its entirety. That's the top picture. So you'll see Exhibit 6A all the way through 6E in descending order. And then the bottom 2 photos on the left is the Exhibit 6A bullet jacket fragment, and that is the view of the exterior. And then the photograph on the right is the Exhibit 6A bullet jacket fragment, and that's the view of the interior.
Mr. Burt, your witness.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Could you tell us your name, please?
Yes, my name is Samantha Carner.
And Ms. Carner, what do you do for a living?
I am a firearm and tool mark examiner.
And where are you stationed?
I currently work at the Forensic Science Laboratory in Washington for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
And how long have you been employed at that location?
A little over 6 years.
What generally do you do there? What area of expertise do you have?
I am assigned to the Firearm and Tool Mark Unit, so I receive items of evidence related to firearms, tools, tool marks, and fired ammunition components.
At the request of the state of Utah, did you conduct certain examinations relevant to this case?
I did, yes.
Could you bring up State 32 in evidence?
Do you want it, Mr. Burt?
Yes, I think.
On all screens?
All screens, it's admitted and
Okay.
I think approved.
All
for
right, let's go ahead and put
publication.
it on all screens because this was admitted and published previously. All right.
You recognize plaintiff's exhibit number 32?
I do, yes.
Are you the author of this report?
I am, yes.
Okay. What were you asked to do in relation to the examination that's documented in this report?
For the Submission 1 report, I received a firearm, cartridge case, 3 cartridges, 1 bullet jacket fragment, and 4 lead fragments. I was asked to test fire the firearm and compare the test fires to the cartridge case and the bullet jacket fragment. I also was asked to do a tool mark characterization on the cartridge case and the cartridges, and then I also ran a general rifling characteristic search on the bullet jacket fragment.
Okay. And are your conclusions accurately documented in your report?
Yes.
Could you turn to page 2 of the report? Second, bottom of the page. Those 2 paragraphs, please. Did you write in your report, these conclusions conform with the relevant Department of Justice policy on uniform language for testimony?
Yes, that is always added to our reports.
And do you have a standard operating procedure that requires that in each examination you do, this language has to be in there?
We do, yes.
Okay. And I want to ask you to review the document that is referenced in that language, which would be, and this is just for her only, Exhibit 11. Let me know when you can see that. Are you able to view that?
Yes,
Is this the ATF's, is this a language referred to in your report?
it is,
The
yes.
written policy of the Department of Justice concerning uniform language for testimony and reports for the forensic firearm toolmark discipline pattern examination.
It is, yes.
I move that into evidence.
This is, what is the title of this exhibit?
Your Honor, this would be Carner 11.
All right, and what level of publication are you requesting, Mr. Bird?
Both public and admittance into evidence.
To this state?
No objection.
All right, Carner 11 is admitted into evidence and may be published on screens and captured by the camera.
Thank you. And you can publish that? Ms. Carner, can you tell us what the purpose and scope of this document is?
Yes, this is the DOJ Department of Justice's uniform language for testimony and report, and it standardizes the appropriate language an examiner will use during reporting and their testimony. And DOJ published this to standardize the wording that examiners would use across their forensic laboratories.
And was this published in part because of some criticism that the prior testimony, not by you, but by other people, may have gone beyond the bounds of science?
I don't know why DOJ published it. It was before my time.
Do you know how long this has been the policy of the Department of Justice?
I do not off the top of my head, no.
Are the reports that you issued in relation to this case in conformity with this policy?
They are, yes.
Okay. Now, could you go to page 3 of that report? Where it says qualifications and limitation of firearm toolmark discipline examination. You're familiar with that part of the policy, correct?
I am, yes.
And the portion of the policy that says a conclusion provided during testimony or in a report is ultimately an examiner's decision and is not based on a statistically derived or verified measurement or comparison to all other firearms or tool marks. Therefore, an examiner shall not, and then it lists several propositions. You're familiar with that language?
I am, yes.
And it says that an examiner shall not assert that a source identification or a source exclusion conclusion is based on uniqueness of an item of evidence. Your report is not meant to imply something contrary to what's stated here, is it?
No, it's not meant to contract.
You're not asserting that a source identification is based on the uniqueness of an item of evidence.
No, I am not.
And the reason you're not doing that is because you haven't examined all possible items of evidence that could be relevant to your comparisons, correct?
I have not looked at every firearm that's been manufactured in the world, nor have I looked at every tool that's been manufactured in the world. That's correct.
Okay. The second portion of that says an examiner shall not use the term individualize or individualization when describing a source conclusion. Did you abide by that policy in this case?
I did, yes.
And you're not expressing an opinion here that the comparisons that you made are individualized to a particular weapon or a particular cartridge case, correct?
My conclusion for one of the exhibits identifies the cartridge case as being fired in the firearm. But that's all it says, yes.
Right, but you're not asserting that that's an individualized identification in the sense that's being used in this policy, are you?
No, I am not.
Okay, and then the third part of that says that an examiner shall not assert that two tool marks originated from the same source to the exclusion of all other sources. You're not expressing that opinion either, are you?
I am not, no.
It says an examiner shall not assert that examinations conducted in the forensic firearms toolmark discipline are infallible. You're not asserting that?
I am not, no.
You're not asserting that, it says the examiner shall not assert that there is a zero error rate. You're not
Correct.
making that assertion,
No.
okay? It says an examiner shall not provide a conclusion that includes a statistic or numerical degree of probability except when based except when based on relevant and appropriate data. You didn't conduct such an analysis here, correct?
I did not, no.
Okay. And it says, an examiner shall not cite the number of examinations conducted in the forensic firearm tool mark discipline performed in his or her career as a direct measure for the accuracy of a conclusion provided. You didn't do that, and you're not doing that here, correct?
Correct.
And then it says, an examiner shall not assert that two tool marks originated from the same source with absolute or 100% certainty, or use the expressions reasonable degree of scientific certainty, reasonable scientific certainty, or similar assertions of reasonable certainty in either reports or testimony, unless required to do so by a judge. You're not making any such assertions in this case, are you?
I am not.
Okay. All right, thank you. You can take that down. Now, when you conducted your analysis in this case, and in all cases, do you typically generate a case file that includes proper documentation of your examination?
I do, yes.
And did you do that in this case?
I did.
Could you display to her alone, please, Exhibit 6, Carner 6? Case file. Yes. Do you see what's displayed there?
I do, yes.
It's a 47-page. Is this your case file?
It is, yes.
Did you rely on the documents and photographs that are documented here in writing the report that the state introduced into evidence here?
How so?
Before you wrote your report, did you photograph items that you were looking at, take other notes, and then use that work product to form the opinions you reached that are documented in the report?
The notes are mostly used for initial documentation and evaluation, and then, yes, supplement to the conclusions that I make. It's all a representative image of what my conclusions are going to be. So part of it is going into the conclusion statement and then just showing proof of those conclusions.
Right, and your standard operating procedure requires that you document in your case file the basis for your opinions, correct?
Yes.
I'd move Carner 6 into evidence.
To the state.
Is this the 47-page document?
Yes.
Yeah, I object. I don't see the relevance to the court's probable cause determination to review a 46-page report that includes notes.
Would you like to respond, Mr. Burke?
Yes, Your Honor, this is the basis and documentation of the conclusions reached in the expert's brief report, which expresses her ultimate conclusion, but does not contain any of the reasoning for that conclusion. So it's important for the court, I think, to understand why and how she reached the conclusions that she did.
All right. Anything further?
No?
Yes, just that without testimony about what the meaning of the notes is and so forth, it is more confusing than it is probative. So under a 403 analysis, I don't think it's admissible nor helpful to the state, to the court.
All right. Mr. Burke?
I intend to focus on particular photographs which document what she received in evidence and the comparisons that she did, which are also documented in this file in the way of comparison photographs.
All right. As it relates to the objection is overruled. I find that this is relevant as it relates to State's Exhibit 30, which was admitted, as well as State's Exhibit 32, which is admitted, and the state is able to do cross-examination on this witness as it relates to this report. And so it is admitted and may be published on all levels in the courtroom and through the media.
Thank you. Ms. Carner, one of the items you were asked to look at was, as described in your report, 1 bullet jacket fragment and 4 lead fragments, correct?
Yes.
Were you informed at some point that there was a discrepancy between what you were examining and what had been documented by the medical examiner in terms of the number of bullet fragments?
I was, yes.
Were you asked to see if maybe the ATF had lost certain portions of the evidence?
No, I was not.
Right. Do you think, and was it your understanding that there were originally 7 bullet fragments, but you ended up with 4?
I was alerted that there was potentially 7 fragments from the medical examiner in a photo just a few months ago.
Okay. You're clear, though, that when you got the evidence, it was in a sealed condition, correct?
It was, yes.
And when you opened, what was it, an envelope?
A small individual manila envelope, yes.
And did you take the contents of the envelope containing the bullet and take photographs of it?
I did, yes.
Okay. Could you display page 41 of 47, of that exhibit? I'm sorry, page 14. And tell us what's depicted here.
Yes, this is a picture of the as-received condition of Exhibit 6 in its entirety. That's the top picture. So you'll see Exhibit 6A all the way through 6E in descending order. And then the bottom 2 photos on the left is the Exhibit 6A bullet jacket fragment, and that is the view of the exterior. And then the photograph on the right is the Exhibit 6A bullet jacket fragment, and that's the view of the interior of it.
Okay. Now, after you documented what the bullet and the fragments look like, did you do certain procedures on the bullet, the larger bullet fragment?
I did, yes.
And what did you do?
I cleaned the bullet jacket fragment, and I also peeled the petals back. If you think of a banana and peeling the skin away from the interior, it's almost like doing that. As you can see from the photo, the petals have been crumpled in on themselves. So in order for me to see the land and groove impressions, which holds those individual characteristics needed for a comparison, I have to do some maneuvering of those petals.
And how do you do that? Do you use an instrument to peel back the portions that you want to look at?
I use pliers.
Okay. And after you did that procedure, did you then photograph the larger bullet fragment itself?
I did, yes.
Were the smaller fragments essentially not of any value to you in terms of doing comparisons?
They were deemed unsuitable, which means there are no microscopic marks of value for comparison.
Okay, but the larger fragment, after you did the process you just explained, you then photographed it again, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Could you display the next page of this exhibit, please? Tell us what we see here.
This is 2 pictures of that 6A bullet jacket fragment after the examination preparation. So the top photo is going to be the interior of 6A, and then the bottom photo is the exterior of 6A.
Now, after you took these photographs, did you proceed to do something to determine whether you had either class, individual, or subclass characteristics?
Yes.
Tell the court what that means.
To start, when I do my initial examination of a bullet jacket fragment like this, I'm going to look at its class characteristics. Class characteristics are the least restrictive set of characteristics I use in my comparison process. And these are design features that are given to a large group of items that characterize them together. So for a bullet, you could think of the diameter of the bullet, the number of landing grooves, the direction of twist, and the type of rifling. So I would go through and look at the class characteristics of this bullet jacket fragment, which was 6 right conventional rifling. Then I'd move on to look at any subclass characteristics. And subclass characteristics are more restricted than class, but less than individual. And they are design features that can be put on an object during the manufacturing process, which is consistent among items that are made by a tool that's in a specific state of wear. So what I mean by that is it's going to be a subset of a larger group, which is why it's not used for identification or comparison purposes for the basis of a conclusion. But when you think of something that's made through a mold process, when that mold comes together, it creates a seam line, and that seam line is going to be represented on all the items that it makes. So that's why you can't use it for the identification process, because it's going to be on a lot of items, which is why it's a subset of the group. Then I move on at looking at the individual characteristics. And these are imperfections and irregularities that arise from the manufacturing process. And then there's also individual characteristics can arise from wear, use, and abuse of a tool. And these individual characteristics is what is going to be distinct to that tool, and that's why they're used for the identification process. So again, I did an examination of its class characteristics, looked for any subclass characteristics, and then looked to see if there was individual characteristics in the land and group impressions sufficient enough of marks and values to do a comparison process.
Now, once you have the class characteristics of a bullet, can you narrow the range of firearms that could have fired it just based on class characteristics?
You can, yes.
And is caliber a class characteristic or an individual or a subclass characteristic?
It's going to be a class characteristic because a lot of firearms will have the same class, or excuse me, the same caliber.
Did you measure the diameter of the bullet?
I did, yes.
And did you end up with a range where it could have been a certain range of length or diameter?
I did, yes.
And what was your reading?
Can I refer to my notes,
Yes,
please?
please.
The range of the diameter for the 6A bullet jacket fragment was .286 to .301 inches.
Okay, what page are you looking at?
It's page 13.
Okay. Now, so this is your documentation of the diameter measurement. And then on the right there, LIMP, that's measurement of the land width,
The
correct?
land impression width, yes.
And these are all general characteristics, or class characteristics, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, once you had that this, and also that it was, you said, what's called the rifling was to the right, correct?
The direction of twist, yes.
Yeah, the lingo is 6 to the right, meaning,
6 right, yes.
and that's a class characteristic.
Correct.
So once you had the diameter of the base of the bullet, and did you have some difficulty because of the damage to the bullet in exactly measuring it?
The reason I provided a range was because of the damage and deformity to the base. So at times it wasn't a perfect circle, so it was important to me to give a range of what those diameter measurements were.